What the hell? Internet's just shitty today. Fucking third world. Okay. Dropped over 26% of my frames. This shit, I swear, it's like... Damn. Let's see how this works. Man, I guess today they're just having really shitty internet. I'm using my phone data right now. And it's saying that I've had like 26% frames dropped, but I'm watching myself on my phone as well. The fuck? What is going on? I don't know. It keeps like dropping. Okay, let's just
Sissies
play.
these days. I'm being serious. I don't know if it's just because I'm pregnant with a boy and I do tend to be a little more aggressive, but I feel like I could beat up a lot of men today when I look around. Plus, later on in the show, it has been exactly 1 year since I put on the White Lives Matter shirt with Kanye West at Paris Fashion Show. So we are going to put that on rewind and reflect. What did I learn from all of that? All that and more today coming up on Candace Owens. All right, let's start with the facts. There have been significant reductions in testosterone levels observed over time. In one study conducted in 2007, they observed that testosterone decreased by about 22% when comparing 1985 levels to those from 2002. That is significant, 22%. In another study that was conducted in 2021, researchers found a roughly 25 decrease in testosterone levels between 1999 and 2016. That is a tremendous decrease in testosterone levels. So there can be no doubt that your grandfather and his father had higher testosterone levels than you, assuming that you are a male living in today's society. So why is that? I don't know why. I won't be able to answer that. A lot of people have their own theories. Some people think it's the food. Some people think it's the things that are being sprayed on the crops. Other people have other theories. What I will say is that never became more clear to me than when I was watching a documentary, which I really recommend every person watches. It was on Netflix, but it was amazing. It was called World War II
like
in Color, and they essentially went back and they had all the footage from World War II and just colorized it as they told the story. And they did a very good job. It was apolitical, so apolitical, in fact, that as I was watching this documentary, and I never cry, but I was really boohoo crying watching this, because suddenly you could really see the faces of those individuals, those soldiers, and you cried for the German soldiers, you cried for the American soldiers, you cried for the Japanese soldiers, because it became apparent how young they were. You know, you're talking about men that were 18 years old, knowing that they were going to die for their country. When I say knowing, you're talking about the Japanese, young men that were going on suicide missions. Do you imagine that? You are going out and you know that today is going to be the day that you die. It's incomprehensible. And then they told the story of the Battle of Midway, and they honed in on these pilots who were going out and they were flying knowing that they did not have enough fuel to get them back. So you imagine these young American pilots, 18, 19, 20, knowing that they did not have enough fuel to get back. Again, incomprehensible to imagine the bravery that these young men had. And then you think about the women who were sending their sons. I can't imagine sending my son at the age of 18, knowing for certain that he's going to die, right? Women were stronger back then, men were stronger back then, and they looked it. But look at the photos of those 18-year-olds who served in World War II. They look like men, right? You can see their boyish features and their boyish eyes, but they look bigger than the 18-year-olds that we are producing today. Which brings me to something that I do every year, multiple times a year. I visit college campuses, and I just want to give myself a pat on the back for being able to stand there and to do it right now, especially I am 8 months pregnant, having to sit into this room and to deal with people, not people who are going out knowing that they don't have enough fuel to get home, going out knowing that they're going to die for their country, but people that think it's an act of bravery to have to listen to a conservative speech. Oh my God, I feel so sad for these people. How?
See, you know, I'm not gonna even lie. Crap. I have become more of a recluse because I honestly can't deal with people. I think a lot of times, like, people are like the bane of my existence. I've always been sort of like an introvert, but like lately with all the stupidity out there, I've always wondered why I never really fit in. Now I feel that it's not that I didn't fit in, it's that I have just more common sense than a lot of these idiots. And I've never was coddled, you know. I was always raised to be more independent. I was always raised to like, you know, you go through life, people are gonna make fun of you, people are always gonna judge you. There's nothing you can fucking do about that. Just go and live your life, right? But you have so many people these days out here who feel like they need to be validated by other people, and I don't understand that. No one gives a true crap about you. I mean, some people's parents don't even give like a true crap about them, but yet you expect every random ass stranger out there to care about your fucking feelings. Like, who the fuck are you for me to even worry my whole entire existence around? It drives me nuts that this is what humanity has come to. It's like, I'm like, no wonder I didn't have that many friends in school, because I don't know, I get up in my own little head. I don't want to be bothered about just dumbass stupidity. I don't want to be the only one in the friend group that has common sense and then ask, why the fuck do we do dumbass things? Like, it's just like, oh my God. And what's crazy about all of this is that you have politicians who think like this. Why the fuck would I have a grown-ass person who needs to be validated by other people to make decisions for my life? And if I don't agree with the majority of individuals who happen to believe that other people should have the say-so of my life, then something is wrong with me. It's like, you guys don't even know what a woman is, but yet somehow I'm supposed to think that you have me, a female, better like interest in mind than my own self. Like, I don't know, it just drives me fucking nuts. Just going back to Candace, and then I seriously need to do chapter 13 today. ICMP, these are message protocols. Internet, I forgot. Internet, fuck. Control message protocol. I think it's something like that. Ah, shit. I forgot the meaning of it, but whatever.
How am I going to be able to sit here and listen to a conservative speak? It always makes me angry, actually, when I see the individuals, the adults, the young adults that we are producing today, because I think about that. I think about the past, which is so recent, really, in our American history, our very short American history. And then I compare them to these individuals who I speak in front of, and then they get the courage to ask me a question. They stand up and they try to have what they believe is their Martin Luther King moment. They're going to say something strong and assertive to Candace Owens. It's going to be an I have a dream speech. It happens over and over again. Well, yesterday I visited a campus up in Albany, New York, and as was to be expected, I had a very short fuse with these children because I'm not here to raise you. I don't know why you turned out this way. I don't know why you think that it's an act of bravery to ask a conservative a question or to insult a conservative. But I was required to answer these individuals for about 30 minutes, and it was just incredible how many people from the queer community had something to say to me.
It's so
Take
brave
this
of you.
young woman as an example. Take a listen.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who actively feel victimized by your presence here today? Additionally, you just pointed out that this man detransitioned, but earlier in your speech...
Guys, I want to hear her. Go ahead. What do I have to say? Just the question, please. No speech. What is the question?
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question. My goodness.
See, look, on that note, I actually agree. I agree so wholeheartedly with her on this. Why do you care what's... like, why do you care how she should feel about her opinions when she speaks them when you're in college? College is supposed to be a place that cultivates ideas and thoughts, and you're supposed to be accepting of everyone. That includes those who like to be, queer, who have mental disorders, and that also includes those who don't have mental disorders and live in reality. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. There's going to be individuals in that group who we all know they don't like Christians, they don't like this, they don't like, and it's funny because they sit around and call people who are Islamic phobic, right? They're bad individuals. Very, very, very bad individuals. But yet, what do you call someone who doesn't, respect that, hey, individuals who believe in a certain way, like reality, and believe in God, and who are Christians, how come, the people in their own community don't check their Christianity phobic and they're straight phobic when it comes to these groups? Like, they'll be so, like I said, they'll be so quick to call out Islamophobes. They'll be so quick to call out homophobes, so quick to call out transphobes, but no one in their group will check anyone in their group when someone who's a Christian outside of their group don't think like them. No one checks there for their Christianity phobe. Like, that's the bullshit that just gets me about these individuals. They want us to be accepting of everything, every single fucking ideology that they have, but how dare they accept anyone's ideology outside of their own fucking bullshit? Like, you're supposed to be adults, okay? Being adult means fucking accepting that there's going to be people who don't like you. It means accepting there's going to be people who do not think like you. We are not in some fucking Borg hive mind living situation here. Everybody is for themselves, just like you guys. If that's not true, we wouldn't have murderers. We wouldn't have those who steal. We wouldn't have those who intentionally infect people with diseases, okay? So, like, your whole world collapses when you think about all these other fucking just horrible things that happen to people, okay? Like, not everyone's going to think like you. Not everyone is going to say, we shouldn't hurt people. There's going to be out there who literally their whole goal when they wake up is, who the fuck am I going to fuck up today? It's just like, ugh. They're like children. They're like fucking babies.
Seriously, somebody just give out free hugs or something. Somebody give out free hugs. I can't be your mommy, okay? I'm too pregnant. I can't be your mommy.
Over and over again, I was being asked to be their mommies. They want to talk about their feelings. They don't have any facts. They just want to talk about how they feel. And they're coming to these college campuses to be coddled. That's what's going on. People are spending upwards to $60,000 per year to be coddled in their various identities and the things that they want to say. There's another example. So that girl was just victimized by my presence. What do I have to say? I'm victimized by you just being here, holding a mic and speaking. Well, this woman was much bolder in her assertion that she knew exactly who she was. Take a listen.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay, next question. Great statement. That's a statement. That's a statement. Okay, you know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart. Thank you very much for your statement.
What was she looking for there? What did she expect me to say? Why would I care? If she's so confident in exactly who she is, why is she snarling at me to stand up and tell me that? Go live your best life. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I mean that. Then, of course, came a guy who asked a very long question because, like I said, they all think that they're having a brave moment that's going to circulate on the internet and they're going to be seen as a hero to the queer community. And he even prepared a special shirt for me to wear. Yes, you're not going to see it in this clip, but underneath his sweatshirt, he did some art. And he wore a shirt that said F you, and he had one of his friends recording it because so brave to do artwork. And Candace Owens comes to speak and to hide an FU shirt underneath your sweatshirt. Take a listen to what he had to say.
My question isn't specifically about anything you really said tonight, although I don't really agree with anything you said.
Okay.
I'm proudly part of the LGBTQ community. I've always stood up for my community whenever I needed to. I want to focus specifically on, I've been listening to you for a little bit just to understand some things. A live stream you did about Pride Month in June on Facebook because you were no longer allowed on YouTube. The event that you were talking about, I actually had the honor of attending that event with a lot of my really close friends, and I found it very perplexing to me how you choose to only focus on the things that are negative when it comes to the queer community.
Sorry, when it comes to what community?
The queer community.
Okay.
Do you not realize that people like you and people like the people you're around and that, continue to have this idea of us are the reason we feel that we have to be so openly proud of who we are? Your demented homophobic and transphobic rhetoric and rants just further prove our point that we have to fight loudly to be respected. The reason that LGBTQIA+ suicide rates are so high in this country isn't just because we're part of the community. It's because there are people like you who make us feel like we don't belong. The only LGBTQ agenda we have is
Okay, is there a question in there or a speech?
Yes.
You got to ask a question, buddy. I know you wrote this out in your notes, but ask a question. Let's go.
How do you think other people who, with your beliefs, respond to the fact that your hateful and harmful rhetoric costs the lives of queer children every single day, on average, every 45 seconds?
Okay, so this is just going to be a pure boogeyman. You're pretending that someone committed suicide because of Candace Owens. You've got no facts here. You're just going, it's your rhetoric that's causing all of this.
So I really wish I could show you.
I mean, you literally had some queer person, you had some gay freaking woman, a teacher, literally kill fucking babies and other adults because it was a private school. So I don't want to y'all literally lose that argument like that. Y'all don't do shit. Y'all never hurt any other group because what? You don't believe, you don't agree with them. Y'all never say anything hateful towards people who don't agree with your fucking lifestyle. Get the fuck out of here. Y'all just try to be victims. Y'all want special privileges. Y'all think y'all can just kill anybody without any fucking say-so. Y'all think y'all can just walk around society, be as gay as hell as you want, not doing it in private. No, you want to do it openly and then towards children too, and then expect nobody to say something. If we say this shit towards heterosexuals, I don't give a fuck. If you are trying to target children, if you're trying to exploit children with your whole sexual identity, you are the problem too. I don't give a damn whether you're straight or gay. And just because you clouded around, oh my God, love is love. Let a straight person say love is love while they're talking to children about sex. These people, shut the fuck up. Like, they have some fucking moral high ground when y'all do so much shit to other people too. Get the hell out my face. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if people start to become less like accepting of this community and distancing themselves away. Like, honestly, I like, unless you on social media and I actually know how your views are. I don't care whether you be straight or gay, black or white. If you are like this, I already know how you are, and I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to get to know you. I don't want to go to your fucking barbecue. I don't want to invite you to my, outings. I don't want any of that.
Here on YouTube, what I responded to this young man, but you know how the world works. You are allowed to insult. You're even allowed to assault heterosexual people. You're allowed to step to the plate and accuse them of increasing suicide rates, absent any data. You can call them demented. You can call them homophobic. You can call them transphobic.
Exactly.
All that is allowed. But us issuing a rebuttal of any sorts, no, that would be harassment. So if you would like to see what I responded to this young man, you can head over to X or to Daily Wire Plus for the uncensored response. I very much disagreed with all that he said, and I answered him with something that I hope transformed him, but I know didn't, because instead what he opted to do, because he's so horrified by my rhetoric, is he took off his sweatshirt and revealed a shirt, as I said, which read, F you. Kind, accepting. Love is love. All of this to say, it thoroughly depresses me when I visit college campuses today, when I see the state of manhood and the state of womanhood. And I hope that you understand why. When you look at these individuals and you see what they deem to be acts of bravery and acts of glory, and you weigh it against the heroes of the past, it's depressing. I don't know what's happening with young men and young women, but I do know that we can attribute a lot of it to a crisis in parenting. And if we examined their households, the households that produce these young children, we would get a lot of answers. This is what I've been talking about over and over again. Children need to be raised by stable and strong parents who are not encouraging them to believe that everything that they do is special, that everything that they say is rational. Rather, we need parents to return to actual parenting. And that's what it feels like when I go on college campuses. I feel like I am being asked to be everybody's mommies and daddies, and I'm happy to do it. I have a few more stops coming up, one in Buffalo, one in Georgia. There will always be protesters. They exist there. In conclusion, I will restate that I don't know what is contributing.
I'll tell you this. Candace is a lot nicer than I am. I would have lost my shit. I would have been like, no. Get out of my face. Get the hell out of my face. And I honestly think more people need to be themselves, be open, and don't be afraid to actually say what's on your mind. If you don't want to cuddle these people, you should do that. You should say, I don't want to cuddle your feelings. What makes you think your feelings are so freaking special, more special than any other human being on this planet? Like,
to the drop in testosterone rates, but I'm observing it absolutely everywhere. And there's no doubt that in the Western world, we are facing a crisis of a shortage of masculinity. We don't need less masculinity, far be it from what the feminists have told us about toxic masculinity. We need more of it. And that's all I have to say about that. Aisha had found herself in an unplanned pregnancy and wasn't sure what to do. She searched for pregnancy services and found a preborn network clinic where she was counseled, supported, and offered a free ultrasound. After seeing her baby and hearing the heartbeat, she cried. She was certain that she would keep her baby forever.
Grateful.
Aisha gave birth to a baby girl who was smart, beautiful, and full of life. Often, she visits that same clinic and receives free clothes, diapers, and more. Because of your generous support, Preborn writes 200 stories just like these every single day. $28 can be the difference between the life and death of a child. When a mother meets her baby on ultrasound and hears their heartbeat, it's a divine connection and doubles a baby's chance at life. Let's join together and help mothers in crisis choose life. All gifts are tax deductible and 100% of your donation will go towards saving babies. You just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can visit preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Okay, now it's time for some topics du jour. So it's the 1-year anniversary since I put on the White Lives Matter shirt in Paris during Paris Fashion Week next to Kanye West. And when I saw these memories popping up on my phone and on my Facebook, I was like, oh, we got to talk about that because it is, without question, easily the most iconic thing that I've ever done in my career, the most viral thing I've ever done in my career, and that obviously is due to the fame level of Kanye. Well, now he goes by just Ye. And reflecting on that time, it was just so crazy because I could have never imagined the response that we got to putting on these shirts of saying something that was so obvious, and reflecting upon just that period, first and foremost, me being postpartum. Literally the entire time that I was on this trip, I was still breast pumping, still dealing with all the emotions of that. And then you get a phone call from someone like Ye, and he asks you whether or not you will get on a plane overnight to come to Paris. And I kid you not, when I tell you this was a last-minute trip, I mean to say that we decided to book the tickets at 9 p.m. the night before. My assistant woke up to a text from me, which I think I sent her at 11 p.m., which said you need to be on the 11 a.m. plane. So you can imagine the scramble that she had to do packing to get to Paris, and I had to do packing to get to Paris and to make it in time for his show, which was happening the next day. Had no idea what he had in mind. He had asked me to just be there. And then when I walked in, he held up the shirt and said, will you wear this? And there was no conversation about it. There was absolutely no conversation about it because I think we both understood that it had to be done. You know, often on this show, I talk about the natural equilibrium of the world and how I believe that when the pendulum swings one way, it will necessarily have to swing the other way. And when he held up the shirt, I understood it was one of those moments. It was one of these moments where we had to commit ourselves to swinging the pendulum. I mean, the madness that had ensued because of Black Lives Matter, the lies that were being told, people saying that this is really just about equality and we're saying Black Lives Matter because it should, and the phrase doesn't mean anything. It doesn't imply that Black lives matter more. And so I knew the artistic and the creative direction behind what Kanye wanted to do. He wanted to test a theory. You know, if people genuinely aren't bothered, and this isn't about a movement of people that are trying to make white people somehow beneath Black people, which we saw examples of them in the streets, bowing down, shining their shoes. I mean, what took place in this country after George Floyd was sickening. It was reverse racism, or as I like to call it, racism. It's just racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. And as people were told that they were made to feel guilty, that they had to be guilty for being born white, that they had to account for the sins of their great ancestors. People that had never owned slaves were now somehow being made to feel guilty about slavery by people who were never slaves. Mm-hmm. This wasn't some great reckoning that we saw with Black Lives Matter movement. Highly what was being done was the highest levels of fraud that was being committed. And my documentary that we had created was meant to expose all of that. And so by putting on a simple shirt that said White Lives Matter, we were testing a theory, because truly, if you believe that that's implied, the shirt wouldn't upset you. But of course it did upset people, because how dare you say that? How dare you say that white lives matter? I remember the next morning waking up in Paris and just the phone going off like crazy, all of these headlines. And I remember Ye called me. He was staying at a different hotel than me that was just one block up. And he said, so how are you feeling? And I said, I don't really know what to feel, processing just the world, processing this. And he said, you know, originally I wasn't going to say anything because I wanted the shirt and the art to speak for itself. And I didn't want to answer the question, what did you mean by White Lives Matter? Why would you wear this shirt? What's being implied here when you say White Lives Matter? But then he said, now I think it's important to answer the question.
Look it up. If you need to ask what someone meant when they wear a White Lives Matter shirt, and you weren't really in tune with what was actually going on in the world when it comes to this whole Black Lives Matter and what Black people were pretty much doing and saying, and it's not the majority. It wasn't. Okay, I should say this. The way that the media was depicting how black people, the people that they choose to pick, the black people that they choose to pick to depict how actually black people think about white people as a majority, it was disgusting. Anyone outside of America would think that this is the way black people think about white people all over the world. And if you don't have anything to combat that, well, I mean, people are going to just think that, I don't know. People are going to think that maybe because of the past, black people are justified in the way that they're justified in the way that they are thinking because of the atrocities of the past, and that because of that they can't move forward in life unless we rectify that. And I'm like, when I think about our history, I think we have rectified that. I just think that there are always going to be people who want more than what the world can give them, and when they don't, they'll have these grievances that they believe everyone in the world should try to fix. And it will never ever, nothing someone does will ever truly be forgiven by a group of people. No matter where you are on the planet, there are always going to be people who are just so fucking angry and deserve that they believe that they deserve so much more than just a simple "I'm sorry, let's try to fix this." So if you looked at the whole White Lives Matter shirt and you were just that stupid enough to not understand why that statement needed to be said, to remind people, hey, if we don't like what we did to black people back in the day, I don't think the right thing to do is to, do this to any other race. And unfortunately, in America, that is black and white. It's not Chinese people. It's not, brown people. It's not Asian people. It's just a distinct black and white problem. I don't care. I don't give a shit who you are. If I see you being racist towards another person simply because of their skin color, you're wrong. You're just wrong in so many ways. So I just think people who were just questioning about this whole White Lives Matter shirt, I just think they wanted to start something. You didn't say anything. No one asked those questions. Why are people wearing Black Lives Matter shirt? That didn't need to be explained. If you just looked at it for what the words are, yes, Black lives do matter. Asian lives matter. White lives matter. All lives matter. Okay? And that's all I gotta say is, people who just got upset because she wore a White Lives Matter t-shirt, they just racist, honestly. They're just fucking racist. Because two people can play this game. Two people can't play this game. You racist.
Why did you wear a shirt that said White Lives Matter? The answer is simple, he said. Because they do. It's just such a Kanye way of processing everything. Yeah, because they do. White lives matter as well. And that should have been abundantly clear. And it was so simple and in front of us. Anyways, it's one of the greatest memories that I have throughout my entire career. I'm grateful that Kanye included me in that show. I'm grateful for the madness that followed it. I'm grateful that we created such an iconic moment and such an iconic shirt. And I kid you not when I say that I have that exact shirt hanging up in my gym today, because it's something that obviously for the rest of my life I will never forget. And in conclusion, in case people forgot in all of the Black Lives Matter rhetoric, that also, yes, White Lives Matter because they do.
Candace,
all right, guys, moving on. An activist poet has been randomly stabbed to death in front of his girlfriend after they attended a wedding together. His name was Ryan Carson, and he died at the age of 32 years old.
Bruh,
tremendously sad. I want to say that off the bat, but I will tell you why this particular stabbing has political significance and why people are discussing Ryan Carson's death so much today. Ryan Carson, allegedly, according to Andy No, was an Antifa member. What we can tell you for sure is that Ryan Carson, just like the young man that we showed you yesterday in Philadelphia, was without question a leftist activist. And bizarrely, just like the young man from Philadelphia that we discussed on yesterday's show, he also was an activist in terms of trying to establish safe havens for drug addicts and for homeless people. Ryan specifically wanted throughout New York City to establish safe injection sites for drug addicts. Take a listen to Ryan in his own words.
Hello, my name is Ryan Thorson Carson, and I'm a political organizer and policy analyst from Brooklyn, New York. Like many people, my life has been shaped by the opioid epidemic that has ravaged our country. I've lost family and friends to the epidemic, including my best friend to a lethal heroin overdose in 2016. My story is unfortunately common. For many...
Okay, so check that out. So this man, he knows that opium is like a huge problem, but yet in the same breath, he'll sit here and advocate for fucking clean injection sites. You think this man care about humanity? After all his friends who don't get killed by drug addiction, he think it's humane to have sites for safety drug consumption. Yeah, that's logical.
The opioid crisis hits close to home. It's time to focus on new strategies to fight back. One strategy is safe injection facilities. The facilities are a part of a harm reduction approach toward drug use. They provide sterile injection equipment, information about drugs and basic health care, treatment and rehabilitation referrals, access to medical staff, and, crucially, counseling.
So this is weird. It's a weird thing to take up as a platform, in my opinion. We now have two young men, this young Ryan Carson and this Philadelphia man, Josh Kruger, who are really focused on making sure that drug addicts feel more at home, right? That the system is not coming after drug addicts. Well, as a quick update to Josh Kruger, you remember he was fatally shot in his own home. Police are also investigating whether or not that was drug related. So he himself may have somehow been involved in drug crimes, allegedly. We'll have to do an update on that story when the police have their conclusions. But with this guy, Ryan Carson, it is strange to me, as it always is strange to me, that there are people that are trying to convince you that homeless people and drug addicts are really good people, right? Despite the fact that they're on the streets, and I have spoken out against this tons of times. I have been open about the fact that I have drug addicts in my own family that live on the streets. The idea that these people are just on some bad times is completely ludicrous. It is dishonest, and it is a narrative that is going to get people killed, okay? It's going to get people killed. These people are desperate. They will do anything for drugs. If you gave them $2,000 a month to spend on rent, they would choose to live on the streets and spend every single penny on the next high. That is the reality. The majority of people that you see that are homeless on the streets and that are screaming at themselves are either high themselves, mentally unstable, or both. And so Ryan, who wanted to be a hero to drug addicts and to people that we find that are wandering the streets, who wanted to create a safe haven for those that are suffering from drug addicts so that they could shoot up, met an unfortunate fate. He was killed. He was stabbed to death by a man that I am going to assume, we won't know because he has not yet been caught, was on drugs, given the fact that it was 4 a.m. and he was acting erratically on the streets of New York. You can take a look at this video to see what happened. I'll talk you through it in case you're listening to the podcast, but viewer discretion advised. What we have here is Ryan and his girlfriend sitting on a bench, and they begin to walk. They were coming back from a wedding at 4 a.m. in the morning, and what takes place, and what you can't see, is that this man seems to be kicking something. You can hear it, and Ryan approaches him. His girlfriend stops in her tracks, and Ryan approaches him. Now, according to his friends, this is just the kind of guy that Ryan was. He thought that he could always talk to somebody. One friend shared a story about how he stopped himself from being mugged by just giving the homeless person his money. Well, this is not what happens here. You see, the guy approaches Ryan. He threatens him. He tells him that he will kill him. Ryan then begins to defend himself and realizes, obviously, that this is serious. And then Ryan gets stabbed by this man. He is on the street, bleeding out. His girlfriend is above him. It looks like...
Men, let this be a lesson, all right? This is the type of chick you don't want. I'm gonna tell you that right now. This bitch just sat there. She ain't a ride or die. She is not a ride or die bitch. All right, okay. She let this man and say, hey baby, let's just cross the street, man. Fuck that hoe over there. I don't know what is going on. You know, he ain't gotta. She doesn't have to actually say it and be vulgar like that. But she could just grab her man's hand, and be like, you know, let's cross the street, right? Let's just cross the street. But no, she wants her man to get involved with someone who's clearly unstable. Clearly, he doesn't seem to be in control of his emotions, and this is a wild card. He's acting like a literal wild card. But when you're not logical and you can't assess these things, you're literally walking into a ticking time bomb that you have no idea what the hell they're gonna do with their actions. You know, I get trying to want to help someone out, but this ain't the setting, bruh. This ain't the setting. You don't know what he's packing. You don't know who could have pissed him off that day. You don't know that. You just walk your ass across the street. That's what you do. You don't try to intervene and be like, yo, chill, bruh. Like, chill. Like, what are you doing, bruh? Just talk. Like, talk. You want to talk? Go see a therapist. Not some stranger on the street, all right? You want to help somebody. You do it in a more therapeutic setting. You don't do this shit right here. And she just sits there. Well, I shouldn't say sits there. She stands there. This will be the same woman this will be the type of woman who will sit there and tell you that there's no difference between men and women. She will literally fucking, like this boy, spin in her face. This is the type of woman who doesn't care about a lot. She just seems to only care about herself. There doesn't, and I watched this video, there doesn't seem to be like a cry. There doesn't seem to be like, maybe it could be shock or something, but it didn't seem like there was any type of emotion coming from this girl towards this man that she's supposedly in love with and dating. Like, imagine if that was your girlfriend and she absolutely did nothing. Did she call the cops? Why the fuck isn't she? Oh, wait, that's right. She don't like the cops. So she doesn't want to call the cops to come and rescue her man. The first thing I would have been doing is calling 911. And like, you wonder why. This is like a perfect example of why when a situation goes out of control, men normally have the logic to stop what they're doing and do something about it right away and handle it under extreme pressure. Like, if you see this video outside of this and watch the whole entire thing, she kneels down, but it takes so long for her to actually do all this. Like, nothing is like in a split second. Like, there's no impulse to actually help her man. It seems like she's just trying to survive, like trying to capitulate to whatever the offender here is doing because she doesn't want to lose her life. So this is she's just trying to stay alive. And that's one thing that I think is very different between men and women. Not trying to sit here and say that men don't do that shit either, but this is typical of women because they expect, as much as they want to sit around and say, oh my God, men and women we're the same, we're equal in everything. No. You expect the man to stand up for you. You expect the man to fight while you stay in the background. It's biological. I mean, it's literally right in front of your eyes, but whatever. Let's not listen to that.
She's scared
that's
to
too
approach
logical.
him.
Look,
she tells another young woman
you tell someone else to go call
appears
the police,
to maybe
bitch. Why don't you call
know
the police?
the person that just stabbed him to just keep the guy back. Unfortunately, she was not able to save Ryan Carson. Ryan Carson later died. Okay, so he spent his last moments on this earth on that sidewalk. He spent his last moments approaching that individual, likely convinced that he could somehow do something, that he could somehow stop him.
Where's
That's
like
just the media
another
depiction
thing?
of homelessness and
it
crime
didn't seem like she was
statistics.
trying
That's
to
wrong.
stop any wounds. It didn't seem like she was trying to, like keep him from bleeding out.
You have
That's
no
the type
right
of girl
to
you
be
don't want.
fearful of crazy
So,
people.
no, she's gonna
When
get
you
you
see a
killed.
crazy person, you
Yeah.
cross the street, you don't approach them.
That's
It is a known thing. Take it from me. I was born in New York. I spent 7 years in New York City. That at 4 a.m. in the morning, nothing good can happen in the city. You
That's
get
like a
inside,
Billie
you take
Jean,
an
baby.
Uber, you don't take the subway, you don't approach a homeless man. There is nothing good that happens. No matter how good and fluffy you feel on the inside, no matter how hard you want to virtue signal as a white person that you're not scared of black people even when they're behaving erratically and acting like they're on drugs and telling you that they're going to kill you. By the way, it should be obvious by now that this is why the Marine who took out that homeless person on the subway is a hero, because this could have been the conclusion. He said he was going to harm people on the subway, and he likely was going to harm people on that subway. Except, fortunately, there was a Marine there to take care of the circumstance. You don't wait to find out. You don't feel goodness in your heart and sadness for this individual. You protect yourself. That is what should be abundantly obvious. Protect yourself. Now, regarding his girlfriend, Claudia Morales is her name that you saw in that video, who was the last person that he saw while he was on this earth. Claudia is also an activist. She was a BLM anti-police activist, which is ironic given the fact that they are now asking the police to help them find out who killed Ryan on the streets. Claudia once posted this long message onto Facebook, which was pro-BLM, and it ended with this: "The police do not protect you. BLM, hope you're on the right side of history." Thank you, Claudia, who was referring to protests, participating in BLM protests. She was pro-defund the police. And now, of course, she and Ryan's friends are all looking to the police to try to figure out who committed this heinous act. And it was no doubt a heinous act. It's not something to applaud. It's sad. It is sad to me that people continue to delude themselves about the reality of what is happening in Democrat cities. It is sad to me that these people create videos trying to help drug addicts, trying to help homeless people, and trying to further delude others into believing that the problem is simply racism. The problem is simply that we do not have enough compassion. You should not be an idiot. You should not be an idiot. Do not have so much compassion that you would put yourself into harm's way at 4 a.m. in the morning with a knife-wielding maniac. That is not compassion, that is stupidity. So, if I sound harsh, oh well, okay? That is a circumstance. If you want to stay alive, you should get a little harsher as well. A big part of getting and staying in shape is eating right and getting all the proper nutrition that you need to fuel your day. Balance of Nature can help you do just that. Balance of Nature capsules are packed with 100% whole food.
So I'm like, okay, this nihilistic behavior, in order to show that you actually care about people, I think it definitely needs to be checked. You should never have to put your life at risk in order to, especially for, in order to placate to individuals that you're not a racist. You shouldn't have to put your life in danger in order to prove that you're not a racist. That's just dumb. And why people tend to follow these individuals, I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to make them feel good inside, make them feel like they're making a change. This is not how you go about that. If you know anything about the Black community, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of things that go on into the Black community that needs to be fixed within itself, and points to a behavioral problem. It really does. You can't think that the reason why they're in prison or in jail is simply because of their skin tone. If you acknowledge when any other race commits a crime, it's because they're criminals, it's because they broke the law. You need to do that and have that same, that same energy towards Black individuals. You can't excuse their behavior. If you do, it's like you're already setting to the world that they are children, and they're not. They're grown-ass adults who do these things. In a sense, there's children who do these things too, but you don't teach individuals, you don't teach children by letting them get off. No, there's some discipline that needs to go there. whether that's taking away video games, you know, timeout, whatever, what have you, getting their ass beat. You know, that was a huge thing in the black community. Probably was a huge thing throughout a lot of communities, but you can't excuse their behavior simply because they're black. You have to understand what's going on here. And people say that, oh, it's because they're poor. That's not an excuse either. A lot of this stuff has not anything to do with them being poor. A lot of it has to do with the lack of discipline, a lack of fathers, a lack of guidance. But no one wants to address that. They think all the problems can be solved if we look at the most superficial things in the world in order to just fix everything. Money will not buy you happiness. I mean, some people can argue that it will, but I do think money is a tool that can make you happy, that can buy you things, but in order so that you can be happy. But that all depends on the individual. I mean, I make a lot of money and I don't have a lot of shit because I don't care to have a lot of shit, and I'm still happy. You have a lot of people in poor countries that are extremely happy. They value other things besides just money. But fathers are a huge problem, not being present, or even having male role models that are positive influence on especially black boys, because I feel like they're lost. And I was like a foster care worker for a while when I got out of the military. And you know, the one thing that was very prevalent that I saw, I didn't like doing casework for when there was females. I just, like, there was something very different in the way that women think, or I should say females think, and men and males think. It was like excruciating for me. And maybe it's because I grew up as a tomboy. I always liked more logical things. I always liked reading, you know, using my hands and all that other stuff. I find it like, I find it excruciatingly painful to be around a lot of females who are vain, like to be in the mirror all the time, you know, like seeking approval, especially by other female packs. You know, like they can't somehow seem to do anything on their own. Like they're just helpless, like, you know, like creatures. It caused me a lot of pain to be around those types of women. Or I should just say girls, because I was dealing with a lot of like teenagers or like early adults. However, the boys, especially the black boys, they were extremely smart. And I think it's because I rode a motorcycle and I had tattoos. They were very nice to me, like extremely nice to me. I could also say the same thing whenever I babysat, because I was a huge tomboy. I loved being outdoors. I would go to the pool. I would play football with the boys. And with the girls, you know, if they wanted to have their dolls, if they were a tomboy, they really liked hanging out with their brothers, and they would hang out too. But I found how a lot of the black boys, they were very smart when they did their homework, brilliant, but yet a lot of them would put on this persona that they weren't, and that if they came across as if they were smart, people would pick at them. And it was just like, why is there no one speaking to help these individuals find themselves in society and let them know that it's okay to be, you know, book smart. It's okay to be a nerd. It's okay to not want to be on the streets. And the craziest thing is when you looked at them, you probably think they did run the streets. But it was all like a persona. It's like they had to put this mask on to show the world that, yeah, we down with the hood. And it honestly, it kind of like, you know, broke me a little bit when it came to being a foster care. Like, just, you know, I mean, foster care kind of broke me anyways, but it came really apparent from the outside looking in how a lot of them, like, they felt like they were trapped and that they had to put on some sort of game face in order to show society that they were, you know, they were down with the hood. They didn't want to get picked at, and I understand that, but I think that's because there was a lack of guidance. They didn't have anyone there to teach them anything otherwise than what the neighborhood deemed what was acceptable. It was it's I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. I wonder why and crazy. I remember growing up watching Steve Urkel, and Full House. You know, there was the Banks, Carlton. You know, like we don't have those types of shows anymore. We don't. It at least made it be okay that it was. It made it okay to be black and smart. You know, you might not get all the girls, but you were definitely. No, they didn't help. I will say that. Okay, but at least you saw. At least, like, especially when it comes to representation, right? You know, that lovely word people talk about these days. You don't really see a lot of black people in, you know, like smart that are nerdy and smart and didn't look too goofy and just was just a normal black person. You don't really see that in TV these days. I mean, there was, I guess you could say Black Panther did have some of that, which was good. I'm not gonna lie. You saw how, you know, black people were depicted as technologists and all that other great stuff, which is interesting because a lot of people don't know this, but like when it came to like DOD and working for the government, there was a lot of black people working for the government that were really smart individuals. And no, they weren't these awkward fucking people. They were brilliant at math and numbers and science, but they don't get fucking recognition. The only people that seem to get recognition in like popular culture is fucking people who push race, people who are athletes, singers. It's like there's no room for the smart black person. Oh yeah, not to mention, let's not forget about the gays. Let's not forget about the gay blacks out there. They have to be represented. But, and honestly, it's just frustrating. It's so fucking frustrating.
They use a cold vacuum process that preserves the natural antioxidants in 16 whole fruits. And
I actually have these
except for
pills.
this guy right here. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Candace. All right, guys, now let's get into some of your comments on episodes past. These comments were pertaining to disciplining children. The age-old question, should we be spanking children? The answer, definitively, is that when
Any
kids
type
were
of
spanked, they
sure.
became better adults. As I said to you,
Comments.
everyone in the studio, I went around and asked, everyone was spanked. Except for this guy right here, the one controlling this camera. He was the only one who didn't get any spankings, and he's bad. First comment from Tammy says, love this episode, Candace. I have been saying children need more discipline for years. I was born in South Africa, but raised in England with extremely conservative parents. Yes, they did spank on occasion. I wasn't allowed to be roaming the streets or going to parties. School and work was always a priority. Although I hated it at the time, I am 26 now and look back and I am so grateful to them. All my friends were having sex at 13, doing drugs and drinking. I hope to raise my children the same way, although I worry with how the world is going that this will be difficult. It is not the norm to have traditional values and boundaries anymore. As a teacher now, I see how a lack of parenting is affecting the future generations. Yes, I can only imagine what teachers have to go through or professors have to go through when you see these bubbling babies like I encountered on that college campus. You know, everybody has a feeling, and I don't know why they think that it's the job of their administrators and their teachers and their professors and the people that come to their college campuses to speak, to deal with their feelings. They act very much like toddlers, except actually, no, my toddler son acts way more masculine than the little boys that I see on campuses. The Riza writes, the lack of discipline in many homes is astounding. I had a job a few months where I was helping a family with their 2 and elementary level age children. To discipline their children, they used a motivation approach where every single day, both children would receive a gift from Amazon that they used to get them to do their homework or to eat dinner. It was outrageous. The children were allowed to treat me with complete disrespect and went out of their way to do something bad and then blame me for it. Sadly, the parents took the side of the children. I ended up leaving after 2 months. Unfortunately, they are raising monsters who are self-indulgent and will become narcissists. Yep, you are correct. The idea of giving your child a gift every day to do their homework or to eat their dinner? Talk about the inmates running the asylum. What? That is absolutely insane. Yep, they will go on to become little narcissists that I will have to then encounter on college campuses. I am convinced of that. I will see those kids in a few years. Wife Life writes, I agree with most of what you say, but I would like to share this. I once told my son that he can't hit his brother just because he did something that he did not want him to. And he said, that's what you do. He was 4 years old. I quit spanking them as an experiment, and that was 8 years ago. They have not had any more negative behaviors than they did while spanking. You don't have to spank them. You can punish them in other ways that don't physically hurt them. I'm not, you're not disagreeing with me. I told you I don't spank my kids. I put them in timeout, my son at least, and it has been tremendously effective. So I have not seen a reason to spank him. When timeout, he acts like he's had acid poured on him when I put him in timeout. You would literally think we were physically beating him. That's how much he hates timeout. So there are effective measures. I think what I have learned from other parents is that every child is different. So what works with one child doesn't work on another. For me, I would say spankings weren't that effective. I probably think the person that I respected the most, obviously, was my grandfather, and he never laid a hand on me. So, but for other kids, people feel that they need that discipline, that they need that structure. I'm not here to judge how people are raising their kids, but I will judge you if you're not raising your kids. And I, again, have to encounter them on college campuses crying. Last comment, this person writes, there was a point where spanking became ineffective, especially with my sons. I started using push-ups as a discipline tool. Lactic acid built up in the muscle tissue does wonders for keeping attitudes in check and builds muscle and discipline at the same time. You can't beat it. I have heard about the strategy. I like it, the military strategy, making them drop down and give you 20. That feels good to me. I feel like I would be a good sergeant. And when my kids get older, I'm going to make them drop down and give me 20, even if they don't do anything bad, just because it's good. It's good for people to do push-ups. It builds character. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that unfortunately is all the time that we have for today. As a reminder, my new 10-part series, Convicting a Murderer, you know, it's available now. First episode, free on X, also free on YouTube. Second episode, still free, but it's over on the daily.
Okay. So I will say this real quick about spanking and discipline of children. So with me being homeschooled and stuff, I didn't really have, like, my friends consist of my cousins and my one neighbor, okay, Raymond. We didn't really, I would say if anything, we're very sheltered in life. And I think that was for a good reason. People might, how can I say this? There are times where I look at my childhood and wish that my parents did prepare me more to how people are. But I think in their own way, by teaching me certain values when it comes to, like statements like treat people that you want to be treated, stand up for someone if you see them being bullied, yourself, try not to be a bully. Is one, and people, there's a difference between bullying and shaming. There are some things in society I believe 100% should be shamed. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that you have to be a bully towards that towards them because of their shameful behavior. And I also think that not being influenced by little kids that were outside of our neighborhood, like going to a public school that you would see in public school or private school, not seeing that, it didn't grow, like, it didn't influence me to adopt behaviors that I know my parents had approved of. With that being said, even though we weren't around a lot of kids outside of our little neighborhood, that don't mean to say that we never got in trouble. I think kids have a inclination to do things without really understanding what's right and what's wrong, and that has to be literally learned. So did we get spankings? Of course we did. But for me, I stopped getting spanking after 6 because I didn't like how it felt. I'm like, this hurts too much. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I then started not really censoring, but like checking my own behavior as a child so that I wouldn't get beaten. And like the whole, concept of, well, children stop getting in trouble because they learn how to hide it better. Well, my parents was never these types of individuals that encourage lying, that encourage hiding. So in the back of my mind, if I knew how to hide things better, and I knew that I was lying, and if honestly asked by my parents if I did something, I would say yes. You know, I'm a terrible fucking liar. I'm a terrible liar. You can tell when I'm lying, and I can't hide it. I would be a terrible lawyer. If I were to ever be a lawyer, the only way I would win is through logic, because if I try to lie, yeah, you would call bullshit real quick. So, I think, yeah, after 6 years old, I stopped getting whoopings. I didn't like the feeling anymore. And I didn't understand I didn't understand a lot of people once I came into foster care, because I did live by, you know, what my parents taught me, that you treat others how you want to be treated. So I went into this world thinking that other people would be the same way. And in a way, it kind of made me gullible to the deception that I would later on see. And yeah, that definitely contributed to how I became introvert. It contributed to not wanting to, you know, not wanting to, you know, be popular. And I don't know, it just made me not really care what other people think. I went on about my life living the way that I want to, and it was kind of refreshing that I didn't have this weight over my shoulder about how people will perceive me if, you know, I don't know, if I don't, you know, try to make it my best effort to try to fit in. I didn't care. I didn't have that weight on my shoulders. So I was able to venture off into subjects and topics that I found interesting. I didn't care what other people thought or about me for, you know, doing that. So I think when you discipline your kid, it's very necessary to do that, or else they'll never know what's right from wrong. And I also think there needs to be a healthy level of isolation from the world that you need to have towards your kids, so they can just grow up and have independent thoughts and come into their own without being influenced by fucking crazy ass people. Because crazy ass people raise crazy ass kids. Crazy ass people raise crazy ass kids, and a lot of them are really good at manipulating. A lot of them are really good at hiding, and that comes from having a lack of discipline. Their parent not really giving a shit about them. And, you know, my parents never let me manipulate them into doing what I believe that they should do. So that one lady who said, well, one of my sons said, well, you hit us whenever you don't get what you want. First off, you're the child, all right? You're the child. I'm the adult. I'm the one who's paying your bills. I'm the one who's making sure you're clean. I'm the one who has to stand up for you and protect you when someone's trying to fuck you over. So, like, I wouldn't say that to a child, but, like, you can't have a child put you in your place on certain things that you know would benefit them in the future. I can understand taking a different approach to discipline like she did, but I think, like, when you start having children dictate to you how you should raise them, that's not good for either of you, period. And your child is going to end up being spoiled, and they'll learn how to manipulate you in order to get what they want. And then you're going to be in a world of hurt, be like, oh my God, how did my child become this creature? Be like, well, you allowed it by not setting boundaries. And my parents are really notorious with the phrase, oh my God, when I would try to say something like, well, you do this, they will always turn around and be like, do what I say, not what I do. And that shit used to get me so bad when I was a child. But I understood what they were trying to. I understood what they were trying to convey. But then again, I think it's because I just read so much as a child. There wasn't really time for TV or any of that stuff. But anyways, let's go on with this. I'm going to do chapter 13 for homework today. And you say, but I would say I'm not a specific Black American culture musician and athletes who will be the death of our culture. I will say, look, music and athletics, I think, do provide a way for people in our culture to have a better life, like avenues. But just with everything, there's good and bad, right? When it comes to the musicians, there's good music and there's toxic music, right? I don't think that it's beneficial to our culture to have very violent music, especially with these individuals saying that, violence, words can be violent and, words are violence. Yeah, when it comes to rap music, what? That's like a new phenomenon for us. We should not address that. If you do, then you're just a racist towards Black people. Okay. You have, there's Black violinists, there's, I guess you could say Black easy listening music artists that I don't believe get a lot of credit and a lot of exposure like they should. That puts us in a different light when it comes to musicians, a different range of musicians, Black musicians, and what they have to offer to the Black community. For instance, there was Catherine Battle. She's a Black opera singer from back in the day. If no one really, unless you run into those circles, run into the classical music circles, you probably have never heard of her. And then as far as athletes, I think athletes are great, right? But here's the thing: when you use your platform to push, especially as an athlete, if you use your platform to push racial division, knowing that from, and I'm quoting their words, their privilege, that you're promoting racial division and your grievances because of what you deem to be injustices without really getting to the root of the problem. And they know what the root of the problem, like the LeBron James of the world, they know what the root of the problem is. But, and then what really gets me is when you talk so much shit when it comes to white people and shit, but you do know that you wouldn't be, a lot of these athletes wouldn't be where they're at if it wasn't for a white person. If it wasn't for the white population, which is overwhelmingly largely a larger proportion of the Americas than Blacks, you wouldn't be where you're at. You wouldn't have the millions that you have. You wouldn't have the platform that you have in order to spew your fucking hate. You could use your platform to actually encourage Blacks. You can use your platform to actually try to, be a role model. But, a lot of them tend to just hate on the people that brought them to, that gave them this space, that gave them their fame, and then they still promote nothing but degeneracy within our own neighborhood. It's actually kind of sad. I don't mean the music themselves. That's a different problem. It's when all you see is people getting their news. Oh, yeah, that's true. All their forms of news source from musicians and athletes. Yeah. I don't know why. I'm to be honest, this tends to be a trend. I was looking at some of the Beatles, right, and some of the stuff that they used to preach to, this new trend, I wouldn't say it's a trend, but this new wave of getting information from athletes, musicians, who obviously have, I'm not saying that their opinions can't be viewed or they shouldn't be shared, but to put so much weight in their opinions, it's not something that's new. You have had rich people from the musician, I should say more from the musician standpoint, not so much from the athletic standpoint, but a lot of musicians who were millionaires would come across with a lot of these socialist views and these, I don't know, coming from their coming from this pedestal of how they believe they know the answer to fix all of our problems. This is not a new phenomenon. It's been going on for a very long time. And a lot of people just didn't really, see it or recognize it. Music is a great way of expressing yourself and expressing your frustrations with the world, but it's just that. It's music and it's opinions inside of that's just lyrically drawn up. It shouldn't have so much weight than actually doing your own research and seeing whether or not these people actually have a merit point, or just sitting there and saying for a fact that what they're saying is fact. Like, no, do your research. Just because they happen to be prominent influence in your community doesn't mean that they're right all the time. But that's just how I see it. It's just kind of weird, in my opinion. I just find it weird. Just extremely weird. Okay, so let me do chapter 13. I have to do these 6, then do some homework for it, and then I will go back to something else. All right. .11. Internet. Is it internet protocol? Yeah, internet control. Message protocols. Like ping messages and time exceeds and destination or service unreachable. It is the best effort protocol. The TCP that's different. It does provide error messages. Yes. Well, work on this side of the world. I mean, I work for the, government. So, I mean, it's just long hours. I'll say that 12-hour days, it makes me really tired. It's one of the reasons why I don't really stream. And I haven't really made a lot of videos on YouTube. I simply just don't have the time. But as far as work over here, at least I don't have to worry about a lot of the bullshit that happens on back in the States. I will say that. The one thing that really got me, so my last place that I worked at, you'll be surprised when I say this, the last place I actually worked at was Boeing, and Boeing was a great place to work. I was doing exceptional projects that I had a lot. I was very proud when it came to the politics of it. I don't have to worry about those politics over here, and and because it's the country that I'm in would never allow this to happen. I think for me that was upsetting, was knowing how one individual, because they started sharing how can I say this? They allowed the sharing of bathrooms for certain individuals to be okay. No one said anything about it, but I'm pretty sure if someone were to say something about it, the person who said something about it would be probably without a job, probably have some HR proceedings done to them because they didn't think what was going on was right. And honestly, that would have been me. I had to leave Boeing because of that reason. I was not going to sit by and say that it's okay for one man to use the female's bathroom. I'm just not going to have that, especially when you're in a state that already says that's outlawed. It's illegal to actually have a person who's of the opposite sex use, the opposite sex bathroom. There's actually a law in there, forbidding that. but yet one individual was using the female's bathroom when I got moved to another project, and I felt like I had to self-censor myself from me being stating how, hey, I am extremely uncomfortable that this man can use the female's bathroom. And everybody just, what really got to me on that was just everybody walked around, every female walked around like that was completely normal. And I think it's because HR and everyone believed that women wouldn't dare say anything about it. So yeah, I left that job because I wasn't going to self-censor myself over a potential violation. I just don't want it to even happen. I don't even want to think about that possibly happening. So yeah, I left and I told myself I'm going to look for a job overseas where they don't have these, they won't allow something like that to happen. And so I left. It was extremely disconcerting. It really bothered me at my job. I couldn't really even focus on my work. There were many times I didn't even want to come into the job. I made sure it was a hybrid job, so I spent majority of my time back at my remote office because I didn't want to put myself in potential harm's danger, working for a company that would allow one man to use a bathroom with all these females and no one say anything about it. Not one female stood up and said I didn't feel comfortable about it. So I left. Now I'm in a country where I don't have to worry about that. Everyone still respects everyone over here. When it comes to work, we work with people from all around the world over here. And I can respect that. Yeah, over here I can make money. It's pretty good, and I can focus on, I actually want to be a consultant so I got my little, I want to be more like hybrid cloud consulting, because I got into hybrid cloud at Boeing and then doing Android stuff at Boeing, and I really like doing hybrid cloud, but networking was something I really needed to understand, so that's why I decided to do the CCNA stuff, and then once I'm done with this, I'll go back to my cloud. Curriculum, but that's one of the things I really, I would say this, if I didn't have that opportunity at Boeing to actually put together and be in charge of setting up a hybrid cloud platform for our DevOps team, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. So there was some good things that came from Boeing, but it was just time to leave. When your time is done at a place, I think, and I don't think that anyone should stay at a job simply because of retirement. If they put so much time towards a company, I don't think they should do that. I honestly think they should be in charge of their own retirement and put money away so they aren't slaves to that company and go along or be forced to go along with every policy that they make just in order so they can, pull, retirement later on. I refuse to live my life like that. So now I'm making good money out here, and it's lonely. I'm not gonna lie, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Host reachability. And an echo message can be tested for the ping. Government contracts tend to be good money. The only thing is that unless you work for the FANGs, that is true. But I would never work for the FANGs after seeing how much ideology being pushed and shit like that. I would never work for a FANG. I feel like if I'm going to be hired, I want to be hired because of my skill set, not because of what I fucking look like. No. But I would rather working government contracts is something I've always really been interested in. The one thing I will say though with government contracts, you do have to put you do have to put your effort, and like, how can I say this? You could pretty, like with FANGs too, you could pretty much write your ticket with government contracts if you have a certain skill set and you're really good at your job. I did government contracts back in the States, and like after working for Raytheon, all my jobs that I had after Raytheon were government contracts. You really had to work for that job to be like extended an extra year, because your contracts are only a year long. So if you did a shitty ass job, they didn't extend your contract. So you had to actively work towards keeping your job. Well, actually, they changed that rule. So they not so long ago passed. It actually was bipartisan, especially when it comes to tech. I honestly don't think that you need a degree in order to get into tech. And the reason why I say it is because I did a lot of like fixing like computers in high school without needing a degree. I honestly believe that fixing tech computers and networking is more like a trade job. Programming, that's different, because there is some math and academic rigor that comes with it when it comes to programming and stuff like that. But learning just how to put things together and troubleshooting, which is a lot of this stuff, and setting up initially, I think that's more of a trade. So they passed a bill not so long ago. It was a bipartisan bill for those in tech work to be able to get government, jobs without necessarily having a degree. You can, when it comes to technology. So you can have certs and still, you can get a job. Most of the people I know who were in the Army got really good jobs being in tech, because I was in IT in the Army. They got really good jobs once they got out of the Army working for the government, but it's because they had a lot of experience and they had certifications. So if you have these certifications that are honestly baseline, there's like a minimum level of qualifications that you need to have in order to get in certain tech jobs in the military. They call the IA level 2, like the IA level, here I'll show you. So IAT levels, IAT. So these are categories for certifications and requirements that you need to have in order to get like a rudimentary like IT jobs. So you have your level 1, level 2, level 3. So here most IT jobs you need like an A+, or Security Plus is a huge one. I'm working on my CCNA, and then I want to do the CCNA Security. So I can't even take the CCNA Security until after CCNA, and the only reason why I want to do CCNA Security is because it's more beneficial to me in the cloud. So you have 3 different levels. If you want to be like up there in the top, like when it comes to security, when it comes to networking and all that other stuff, you need to be at level 3. So, and that's they usually require you to have like a CISSP, like the CCNP, stuff like that. But for entry level jobs, it's like crucial you either have Security Plus, or one of these low level. So the reason why I haven't done Red Hat in a while, because I did actually take the test, and like another thing when it comes to the government contracts, there's this thing called Microsoft, right? They tend to do a lot of their business with Microsoft. The government does a lot of their business with Microsoft. So you do have Linux and Red Hat being used for, I'm trying to see a best scenario where, like, if you're, like, when it comes to the CI/CD or the cloud, we'll use Linux to run agents. Sometimes, just in my experience, for VMs, if you want to do, like, set up VMware, I wouldn't even say set up VMware. I just seen a lot of times Linux in the government side being used as agents. But when it comes to logging in, Active Directory, let's call it security, to tiered, like the two authentication form in order to verify who you are. That tends to be done a lot using Microsoft products. We are now starting to see some like AWS, which I believe is more of a Linux-based system. I have to double check, but it seems that you have a lot more, I wouldn't say compatibility, but it seems to be more compatible with Linux systems than, I wouldn't say more compatible, but you just see a lot. Like my first contract job that I was with, it was a web development, front end, back end. Even though I only was supposed to do back end, they put me as full stack once the companies converged together. They tended to use a lot of AWS and a lot of Linux, Red Hat to be exact. Especially when it comes to like security, they used a lot of Red Hat. Outside of that, it was a private company that just happened to do like DoD contracts for certain products for the DoD. But when it actually came to working for Boeing, Raytheon, these companies were very heavily Microsoft. So they used a lot of Windows architecture, and they used a lot of Azure. So Azure is a Microsoft product. That's one of the reasons why I actually like Azure more, because I was introduced to that for cloud at Raytheon. It's very easy. And then on top of that, you have like Jenkins. Jenkins, you can put that on a Linux machine, and you can also put it on a Windows machine. So, I mean, there are uses for it, but don't get me wrong. You definitely have Red Hat stuff for them, for the government side, but there is a lot of Microsoft Windows products that they have in the government. Now they're moving away from so you also have like hardware, cancel. You also have like hardware certificates. And I think those shit for the government. And those are like, no, not this one. Shit. No. They call it like a computer technology requirement, I should say. Why? Okay. And these are like, I guess that's not, oh wow, hardware. So these are like MCSE. Let's see, I don't think they have it here. No. So like your okay. Oh, here you go. So this DoD 8570. So here's that. It's also 8570 IAT crap. So Microsoft, why are you not trying to log me in? All right. So you also have these, like, I guess you can call them like hardware certifications or whatever. So before it used to be MCSA, Microsoft, like system administrator, and then like a system engineer. Those are being phased out, and they are going to be more like Azure, Azure Security, Azure Solutions Architect. They're going to replace them, and the reason why is because I only know this because when I set up the cloud for Boeing, Azure kind of forces you to set up their Active Directory. So you can have, for instance, your Azure Active Directory, then you can have your separate Windows Server your separate Windows Server Active Directory, and then tie that into your hybrid installation of your Azure platform for DevOps. You can link it to your Active Directory for your Windows MCS your Windows server, which is what I did. And so therefore they're trying to move away from having you do your MCSE and then doing your Azure certification, because they're trying to combine everything into one. And when you think about it, if you actually had to put all this stuff together from like on like a premise and not actually use the cloud, the same way like all of it, like you can't even put Azure on its own computer. It has to be a Windows Server computer. So they're trying to just make it all one. So they're moving away from this and requiring people to look at these role-based certs as a way to replace the MCSA and the MCSE. So I think they're going to, I can't remember when they're going to be phased out. Retirements are, they're going to be phased out soon. So I think, even though this one says, however, the retirement of the MCSA and server track on, like, this one said it's been phased out, but I think there's another one that's going to be phasing out soon too, and you're going to be replaced with this. I'm not trying to say that it's not a good thing to learn these technologies here, because it's actually included with this, with any one of these roles. So you're going to have to learn, Microsoft products if you want to do anything related to cloud and Azure. So I do know, yes, if you want to be able to work for the government and you don't have a 4-year degree, let's say you have a 2-year degree, or you have all these certs from different levels, you can now get a job in the government working IT. So, and these are really good paying jobs, not to mention the level of knowledge that you need to know at these different levels. It does require a lot of studying. It does. If you think that taking the CCNA is easy and then troubleshooting it's going to be easy, can I see level 3? So here's your level 3. So let me actually find a better, hold on. I can show you like a list of them. Shit. Is this one? Okay, so this one here will have all the different charts. So, all right, so here's level 3. Then you also have like management. So IAM is like a more management role, and they also have different levels as well. You can be auditor, manager, cyber security. This is more like infrastructure, cybersecurity. Yeah, so these are the different certs that you can have. And they come from CompTIA, IS2 agency, and then like I think it's yeah, these are like all the different, I guess you can call them vendors. That one's a vendor, this one's a vendor, this is a vendor. So if you were to go to these vendors, they'll tell you exactly what you need in order to be at certain levels. So if I were to get my CCNA and then my CCNA security, I will be under level 1 and level 2. I would fulfill these requirements. I don't know what I would do later. I don't know if I'm going to continue down this. I did actually thought about doing CCNP security. I did. but I'm not really looking at that for the time being. That's probably not going to be for like a few years. I'll say like maybe 4 years in the future, because I still want to look at I want to do the Windows Azure hybrid cert and study for that. I already have the book, but I'd rather not look to IA level 2. I'm at IA level 3 until I finish what I've been finishing. So you can also, so what this CISSIP thing is, you can study for the CISSIP, and in order to get it as not an associate, you have to have worked in certain domains. I think it's like 3 different domains, right? This cert right here is highly like sought after. People who have this cert are highly sought after because they should have expertise in different domains. So like networking, security, and let's say like programming, something like that. In order for you to get the CISSP without the associate, you should have worked in 3 different domains, I think spanning over a year. But you can still, let's say you haven't gotten that experience on paper, you can still pass the test, and at that point, you are considered an associate. You're CISSP associate, and you're just waiting on having that time. Yeah, that's supposed to be one of the hardest exams. I think it's like 7. I wonder how many hours. I think it's like 7 hours. Let's see. So, this is difficult. How many hours? So, 3 hours. I could have sworn it was longer than 3 hours. Like, 3 hours for an exam, man. That's crazy. Exam. Let's see, how many hours is 90 minutes? 90 minutes, oh my god. That's crazy. And that means I need to make shortcuts. I'm not gonna lie. I need to make fucking shortcuts for subnetting. That is probably like the longest, I think. It's not subnetting, but yeah. I would say if you want it, I don't think it's like, especially just with doing government jobs, you could definitely get a job in a government if you have the certs. You just have to prove it, and trust me, they will definitely test you with your work if you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, you're rewarded for it. They keep you. If you don't know what they're doing, they will replace you. It's that easy. So, the one cert that I'm really sad isn't in here, which I really want to fucking study, a non-manual labor job. Then I would say, start small. I would say go, your A plus. I know you say A plus. The CE stands for continuing education. So each one of these vendors have a continuing education curriculum that you need to purchase and take through them and take their tests. That counts towards continuing education. Let's say you don't want to sit down and study for the A plus certification all over again, then you can continue on this way. You said the thing is I know my Linux and random cloud stuff. So I would say if you have the Linux stuff, are you working on your Red Hat are you working on your Red Hat certification for it? If you are, that's cool. You could try doing the Linux Plus. If you know your Linux Plus, you should be able to do that. And if you know your Linux Plus, if you know Linux really well, you should try just doing Linux Plus. I think it's a little less known, and that's CompTIA. It's a little less known, but at least it's a stepping stone if you're wanting to get in a Linux, role. And then I would just start making resumes. I would start making resumes. I would start putting together labs and stuff. If you have Windows computer, especially for cloud, and honestly, I need to record doing this stuff so I can make it, so I can actually help out other people. So for my cloud, I actually got this little computer because I needed more RAM. I tried this on a laptop with barely 16 gigs of RAM, and I was still able to get it to work. But it, oh, you have Kubernetes? Okay. I would start making a resume, putting this stuff down, you know. If you have labs, I would probably, if you know how to make a website or at least know how to use like SharePoint or some of these stupid ass web pages, you can post this stuff, or even making a blog. One huge thing to do with blogs is like what are those, one of these blog, I keep forgetting these blog companies. Substack. Yeah, Substack. Making articles on Substack, and then linking that to your resume, putting screenshots, you know, streaming yourself, putting things together. If you know Ansible, Terraform, you can, another thing you could do is also put, I know you can put Ansible and Terraform stuff on GitHub. You can link that to your resume so people know what you're doing. And I would just couple together all the technologies that you know and try to get at least an entry level or a system admin. You can do like a computer analyst or system admin job. But I would definitely say having some sort of, you know, entry level cert could help you. Don't go for FANG companies. Start small, work your way up. Even if you know a whole bunch of shit, like all you need is that one person to give you a chance. It's literally all you need. That one company to give you a chance. It could probably be a shitty ass pay. Probably only get paid like, you know, $16 an hour, but you can work up from that. And using that time to put what you learn into work, into like actually, like that's the only way you're going to get better at it, is actually doing it at a job. Like you could do it here locally, but the only way you're going to really see what your stuff you're made of is if you're at a job, at a corporation, enterprise, and you actually implement everything that you've done at home there. And that's when you know you don't have, what's that word? Imposter syndrome. That can paralyze you when you come to some of these jobs. But so see, then that's good. If you get those certs, then I don't see, if you know all these things, I don't see how that won't get you somewhere in an entry level role to, you know, at least see what you're made of and get your name out there. Because once you start at one job, you're good. All you need is your foot through one door, and then work yourself up, work your way up. I mean, I started off from fucking IT help desk. My first job was IT help desk, and never in a million years would I ever thought I would ever work on like rockets. Never in a million years would I ever thought I worked on cloud. I actually fucking hated cloud. I consider that like not really programming. I got into one of those phases, you know, where I was like, oh my god, programming is so much better than IT stuff. I forgot where my roots came from, but then I realized once I started incorporating programming into cloud and IT stuff, that's where I felt like I was good, you know. And that is what gets rocks my socks off, or whatever. I'm good in that domain. I can troubleshoot those areas a lot better, you know, mixture between both programming. I don't really like scripting, I'm gonna tell you that right now. I still fucking loathe scripting. I guess in a way I'm kind of a elitist in that mindset. I don't see scripting as programming in any way. It's just automation to me. But I am humble enough to know that it is needed when it comes to a lot of IT stuff. You don't want to have to manually do everything. You know, learning PowerShell, I prefer Bash, but learning PowerShell for your Windows environments, for your Microsoft environments, it's important. So I can understand those who have more sympathy for people who, I should say sympathy. I have more empathy for people who use scripting. It's smart instead of fucking doing everything manually. But anyways, like I said, I started off from doing IT, literally IT, fixing people's fucking computers, to different networking, putting together, like the coolest thing I've seen in my life is a server stack with networking capabilities hooked up to a freaking full-blown missile where it's given a scenario and uses their communication to hypothetically show you where it's going to land. Like, that was awesome. Not gonna lie. So you just need one person to give you that chance, and then it's up to you once you're given that chance to work on what you want to specialize in on your off time. And I'll tell you right now, you're gonna not get a lot of sleep. You're gonna fucking hate your life. But you can make a lot of money in this industry. You just have to work for it. No one's gonna give it to you. But now I really need to finish this. Now I really do. But it's an exciting journey, and with IT/programming, computer science, it never gets boring. You can literally work any domain. You're not just stuck doing IT. You're not just stuck being a programmer. You're not just stuck being a subnetting person. You're not just stuck being cloud. You're not just stuck being distributed systems. You can literally choose any field that you want and change as time goes. There's no need to jump to another career. You don't have to do that. The possibilities are infinite. Well, maybe not infinite. But technology is always changing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's always changing. You're never going to get a dull moment. ChatGPT, literally. Like, you can never go wrong, I think, with IT. Okay, now I really need to get back to this. I keep saying that. All right. We all know this. If you've done anything with networking, yes, we know ping utility use echo messaging through this loopback. It's network loopback. We all know this. And gateways and shit like that. Destination or service unreachable. When a host or gateway receives a packet it cannot deliver, it can use a unreachable. Oh, yes, makes sense. Message to notify the host, or message to notify your source that the destination and server is unreachable. The message will include a code that indicates the packet could not be delivered. So the destination unreachable codes are 1, 2, and 3. Port unreachable, protocol unreachable, host unreachable, net unreachable. Protocol unreachable. Huh. I need to look that one up later. I don't really know what they mean by that. Wondering, I know there's different protocols, so like TCP, UDP. Maybe that's what it means. Okay, let's write that down. That seems like it's important. Unreachable codes. 0, 1, 2, 3. Port. Protocol. Host. And then some of the destination unreachable posts are NP. This is the Internet Control Message Protocol version 6 are as followable. No route. Yes, that makes sense because that goes more with route IPv6 use MAC addresses and stuff. Okay. Communication with destination isn't firewalls beyond scope of source address unreachable, port unreachable, has similar but similar codes to destination unreachable. Okay, these have 4 internet control message protocol before. You know, I would say like the field that I really want to be in, which is what I went to graduate school for, and I have yet to work in any of them. I find them very, very satisfying. I would say in life, I don't know, maybe it's one of the reasons why I never really got, married. I am seeing someone at the moment. I've always felt like I wanted to have a purpose in my life, and science for me was that purpose. There's something just that you wake up every day and have something that you look forward to. I always thought for me that would be science or technology. And I've always liked image processing or pictures and encryption. Like I find them and I think it's mainly because of the math. I can do math all day. There's something about trying to figure out really complex math that just drives me in. And I remember once I started, I think it was trigonometry. My professor said, "Oh, you've caught the bug." I didn't know what he meant by that. I did not know what he meant by that. But there is something when and because when I see the numbers, I can tell when something just doesn't make sense, just simply looking at it before even investigating it. I've always wanted to get into encryption. I hope one day I can. But I know for a fact that's something I'm going to have to work on outside of, my job. And I don't even know if I'll ever get to that point because I just have so many different interests. But writing encryptions, trying to break codes based off of certain encryptions. I wouldn't say break, but deciphering code that's, I find pure joy out of that. And to, have that embedded inside an image, I think would probably be my ultimate, satisfaction in life. And I know that technology already exists, but I just love encryption. I think it's something that's just so, there's something about it being mathematically sound it's just beautiful to look at. I don't know what it is about it. But one of these days, I would love to get a job in encryption, but I would have to bust out the books and I wouldn't say relearn, but more like I would have to brush up on my linear algebra, my discrete math. I would definitely have to brush up on that shit. But it's fun. It's so fun. If you like puzzles and like, you know, I would say if you like puzzles, if you like, for instance, this sounds crazy. And I honestly think these people have a lot in common. So if you ever look at, you know, pirates and we're into like these lore stories where people have hidden, you know, their treasures and they left all these clues and you have to figure out where it is. I honestly think those people would like encryption because you're like, oh my God, you've reached one, you know, you've reached one possible clue, and this clue then leads you to another clue, and this clue here leads you to another clue. Like, it's like that with encryption a little bit. You do some math and you get this one number, and then that one number you use instead of this whole entire other equation that gives you a fucking, you know, an encryption, and then you're like, oh my God, is that it? No. Then you use that encryption to encrypt one letter or encrypt a sentence. And I don't know. I think it's very similar. I think those personalities probably, because I find it really interesting. Like, if there was ever a map treasure to unveil, oh my God, I would totally take that up on an expedition. Or like, you know, an investigation to find. Oh my God, an investigation to find some, to find some discovery that's been hidden from the world, right? I would totally sign that up. I would totally sign up for that. But then again, I think I'm just weird. I will probably use, like, the thing that really gets me too when it comes to encryption and unveiling some of these stuff, how brilliant some people can take like books and certain events in history to give codes to use that as a code for like a number. It's like, it's just very intelligent. There's something about encryption that's just so intelligent that just, I don't know, I think it's just cool. Alright, and communication with the destination. Is prohibited. Firewall. Okay, beyond scope. So I've been watching a TV show in the background. You guys probably listening to it, but you know, they don't make shows like this anymore. But Numbers, they just started having this back on Amazon Prime. Like, oh, it's such a good show. It's such a good show. If you haven't watched it, I would definitely recommend it. It's old, I'm not gonna lie, but something great about it. The same thing with like French, but then again, I've always been into like sci-fi and shit, so. Okay, time exceeded. Cannot be for because it's time to live. The TTL field where the packet has decremented to 0. Yes, that is very true in the packets. If a router receives the packet and decrement the TTL field and IPv4 packet to 0, discards the packet and sends the time exceeded to the host. I know it got replaced. Didn't it get replaced? Yeah, the hop limit. So in ICMP v6, the time exceeding the TTL field is replaced with a hot limit field. Okay. Yes. So time exceeded. So IPv4 sends a time exceed message TTL. Or time to live. Is that a protocol? Oh, the time, if it's a field, it's a field. That's right, in the packet. Field in the packet. Decrements to 0. You know another thing that's funny too? So I used to watch, when I think of just Hollywood, this is how so far off it's gone. So there used to be this show called Kyle XY. Get it? It's a boy who was grown in a pod, and it's there's two models. You have a boy, the XY, called Kyle, and then there's a girl, Jessie. She's the XX model. Hollywood now. Hollywood now doesn't even want to even admit that those models or those types of people even exist anymore. That's how insane the world has gone. But you know, sci-fi back in the day is very different than sci-fi today. I can't even. It just blows the mind. But that was a really good show. I love that show too. Okay, so IPv6 replaces the TTL field to, what is it called, the hop limit field, to the hop limit field. It acts the same way. You know, the one thing I do regret not doing going through school and stuff, I regret not using my skills and doing people's homework. I would charge so much money to do people's homework. I really do miss. I used to tutor chemistry, and out of all the sciences, I didn't take any chemistry in high school. I took physics in high school, and I had this sense of confidence, I would say, once I got to college, that I was going to do great in physics. Yo. High school physics and college physics are not the same, okay? I had headaches doing that homework, and I had to do a whole year of that shit. I to this day hate kinematics, but I do like the electronic, which is interesting because you can actually see. You don't need to have this abstract thinking when you're thinking about kinematics. You don't. It literally happens in the physical world. For me to try to actually visualize that concept was so hard. But as far as like electronics and moving them around with physics too, with magnetism and stuff like that, electricity, I found that a lot easier. I found that, I don't know why, but it's usually people have a harder time with physics 2 and an easier time with physics 1, which brings me back to this whole, my mind is weird. The easier something is, the more I don't want to learn it. The harder something is, I grasp it oh my God, it came so easy. With chemistry, however, I never took it in high school because I actually thought it would be difficult. I don't know why, but in college, it was it was nothing but math, just deceptively simple. And I could not, for the love of, if you know how to set up fractions, and then crossing out the, when you're trying to put it in your SI units, if you know how to set up your fractions, that it shouldn't be that difficult. But for some reason, it was so difficult to so many people. And you know, I never charged. I should have fucking charged. I should have charged people to do their chemistry homework. It just came so easy to me, but I don't know. If I could go back in time, I would have totally capitalized on that. I would have gladly taken anyone's homework and be like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll make sure you get an A. Because I did all my homework. And like, when I got into, so, which is just, it's just very interesting now when I think about it. I don't know how it, I honestly don't know how it is in college today. But back when I was starting back in 2011, after I got out of the military, in my STEM classes, mostly all of my grades came from tests. No homework was included. No attendance was included. You came to class or you didn't. Everything comprised, you were given homework, but it wasn't mandatory. So if you did your homework, you passed the class. You're like, and I think for a lot of people that's got to be a little daunting, because you're not relying on doing your homework to cushion your grade. So I did all my homework. I don't care. I didn't care if there was like fucking 50 problems a week to do. So I did it for every single class. So yeah, it would have been nothing. And I did actually give people my homework. I should have sold some of that. Just cry. I should have sold some of it. I'm not gonna lie. I should have definitely sold some of that shit. But we would trade. There would be some classes I don't want to really go into and do some of the homework. So I would trade, I will trade my homework and my notes for yours if you took this class, especially if it's known that the professor is like the professor has this reputation of being like a hard ass grader and just like extremely difficult class. Yeah, I can understand wanting to trade notes and your past assignments, to see what it's like. None of our questions are ever the same. All of it was, I felt like just rudimentary, not rudimentary, but supplemental work in order to help you pass your class. But I would have definitely sold my notes, because I could have made a lot of money off that shit. And now I see like there's like literally websites. There's like websites with this shit. Like there's like a websites where people like literally sell their like, hey, I'll write your exam. I'll write your, I would have been one of those, I love capitalism. I would have definitely capitalized on just being smart. Why the fuck I didn't think about that? I don't know why I didn't do that. I don't know why. And I enjoyed it. I truly, if y'all can't tell, I love writing notes. This is just for the intro to the intro to networking class, okay? I love writing notes. There's something about putting pen to paper that just sticks in my brain. I don't know what it is. Some people have like that. Some people have that. The ability to have photographic memory. I am not such an individual. I actually have to write it down, and then by touching pen to paper, it somehow solidifies in my brain what the information was trying to teach me. If I don't do that, I don't know. I don't grasp the information as well. So, ICMP V6 messages. The information and errors found in is very similar to control and error messages implemented in however, has new features, improved functionality not found in ICMP V6. Yeah, I get that. I definitely see how. I am one of those too. I like there's tactile learners, right? You want to see how to troubleshoot yourself. And for me, I like to, the reason why I like to take a whole bunch of notes first is because, like I said, it solidifies the information in my brain, And then when I get on a computer, I'll remember something. Like, let's say I can't figure out, damn, like I was having a problem with, not yesterday, but the day before. Had to map out a whole subnet using VLSM. I didn't actually record this one. I actually did it. And I'm going to do another one, but I'll show you how I did it. You could cheat. It's not really cheating, but it is sort of cheating if you know some of the commands. So for instance, I wanted to verify what was already on the network. So how do I do that? I look at my neighbor. Networks and see what their IP addresses are. And that gave me some insight into the chart that I had for how I was already subnetting based off the information that this packet tracer gave me. And I will do this packet tracer again because I think it has, like, each time you close it and open it, you get 4 different variations of the problem. So it comes with different subnets, and it comes with a different prefix and a different IP address. And you still have to do the same assignment, just the topography is different. So it's a good way to get more exercise, and I'll show that probably on Sunday. So you have to understand some of the commands. Routers are very different than switches. So let's say I did a ping on a machine that already has a setup, right? And I want to see what my neighbors are. But my neighbors, if I do like the IP, if I do show CDP neighbors and everything shows up, that's because I don't have anything in my routing tables. That's something you wouldn't know if you wouldn't know that if you don't do your research, if you don't look at the curriculum and know this. So I wanted to make sure that I was reaching the right conclusion when it came to my calculations, that I had the right default gateway. So what did I do? You could do ARP in a switch. When you're on a router, you cannot. It's like, and I can show you all this when I do it, but you have to use, if you want to see what's in your tables on a router, you have to use show IP route. And I believe that command, once you ping, it'll show you everything in your tables. It'll show you everything in your routing tables. Yes, your IP route, yes. It'll show you everything in your routing tables on a router. If you do ARP on a router, you will not get that information. So knowing the difference between the two, you can see what your neighbors are. And when I found what my neighbors were in the router, then I saw what the serial, it gave me, once I saw that, I then typed in show CDP neighbor details. When I did that, it showed me the serial, the IP address that was hooked to the serial, if it was using gigabyte, interface, what that gigabyte interface was and its serial, and then I double checked my math when it came to all my subnetting that I did on this other piece of paper, and guess what? I was right. So I was then able to configure the rest of that assignment. That was a way of kind of cheating, but not really, because if you knew the commands, it was like a shortcut in how you could troubleshoot it was a way to learn how to troubleshoot what's going on in your network and try to fix a problem without actually, sitting there and writing every single subnet, doing all the math. That could be extremely daunting, but, I would have never known that if I didn't take notes and somehow remembered this in my brain. So, I like it, and I'll show you guys again. I actually really like the packet tracer, especially how you can put everything together. Like, there's something about that GUI that's just so pretty, but I don't know. I like it. But it is, I don't know. I have one more section to do, and then I have to do this little homework, and then I can move on to something else. Okay. Includes 4 new protocols as part of this neighbor discovery protocol. The router, oh yeah, that's right, the router solicitation and an advertisement. I remember reading a little bit about that. You need to go, okay, I'll save that one for Sunday. So there's like 4 different ones, but I'll save it for Sunday. And then, packet tracer, if you take the intro to networking, no, the intro to Packet Tracer on Cisco, it's for free. So you can take that course, and it'll show you how to use Packet Tracer and you know, how to set things up. It's actually pretty cool. I think it's awesome having virtualized software like that. Routers, and including dynamic address allocation, are as follows. Messaging between IPv6 devices include duplicate address detection, and address resolutions are as follows. Okay, so routers and devices. Okay, so message. Well, is this IPv6 messaging? Yeah, Sundays are like my only day off out here. So Saturdays I get off a little bit early, but Sundays are like my only days off, and it gets hard out here. But yeah, it's I think a lot of I don't know, I like putting stuff together. I like troubleshooting a lot. I don't know. I like fixing things. I don't like fixing people though. I'm like, no. Okay. IPv6 devices. You know, I kind of want to make a calculator too with this networking, subnetting stuff. I kind of want to make an Android app for that. Maybe once I fix everything, maybe after I take this exam, because I still have to take like 2 more courses in order to. I can't believe all this note writing for just 1/3 of the course. So there's like 3 parts to the Cisco thing. So there's like intro to networking, and then like switches, and then like another like routing course, I believe. Then that is all comprised of CCNA. It's a lot, you guys. It's a lot. I'm not gonna be done until the second half starts on the 16th. And then that's for 8 weeks. And then the last class starts in January, and that's literally for 5 months. So I'm not going to be able to even sit for the CCNA until next January, February, March, April, May. So at the end of May, like that's a long time to study for CCNA. So that's a long time. But I hope by then, with all the exercises, I should be good to go when it comes to this, studying for this. And I think it's a lot harder. I think it's a hell of a lot harder to study on your own, unless you have like some sort of deadline or calendar. That's the only reason why I take this class, is because I'm only taking a class so the professor can tell me that I'm fucking late, right? That's it. And I need to submit my shit. So that motivation to submit my stuff on time and get a good grade, you know, it helps me with staying on track, because I don't have the discipline to work on stuff that I know I should be working on outside of work, because I'm so burnt out when I'm done with work. You know, I love my job, but like, you know, after you work for a certain number of hours, you want to come home, relax, play some video games, maybe watch TV, and check, you know, I haven't even done, you know, this is one of the reasons why I shifted away from doing political videos on YouTube, because I honestly don't have the time to do that. It's like I had to make a sacrifice between, you know, my political commentary versus what I need to do in order to move up on the job scale, get a better pay, you know, because inflation, all this other bullshit. You know, like, I had to make a sacrifice between the two. You know, I guess that's just call life. I would love to be able to talk about things that I want to talk about. And I do find joy out of this. Don't get me wrong. But I haven't, for instance, started back on my Blender. I really love doing Blender, but I just don't have the time. So I have to prioritize what's important, what's going to feed me, what's going to help me retire, and retire early, and not, you know, be able to contribute to my family. And I don't know, I should call it life. Okay. Enabling routers every 200 seconds to provide addressing information to IPv6 enabled hosts. RA, which is router advertisement. Okay. Can include addressing information from hosts such as prefix length, DNS address, and domain name. The host using, I still don't really understand what this is. Stateless address auto configuration will set its default to the link local address of the router that sent the RA. A host using this will set its default gateway to the link local address. Yeah, that's a fucking IPv6 thing this here. I think I have an exercise where I have to set up IPv6 on a router, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really pay attention. I think it was 12. So this is what I need to do tomorrow. We had an assignment where IPv6 was introduced to us, and I didn't really do all of the assignment that was part of it. Like most of it was IPv6, IPv4, but there's like one network that had a router, a server, and a switch. A router, a server, a switch, and a host, which is a regular PC. And it wanted us to set IPv6 addresses and link local addresses to each machine, and then ping each other. I really didn't do all of that. I think only got like 75% for that particular part of the problem, and that's because I hadn't gone over IPv6 yet. I mean, it wasn't really introduced until the week after, and I wasn't really trying to get ahead, to be honest. Okay, so I'm actually looking forward to the IPv6 addressing. I feel like a lot of people are going to use that in the future. I mean, that's what it's gearing up to be. I don't know how soon in the future, you know, but there's just a lot more room, since I can't remember how many, I can't remember how many addresses there, I just know there's a shit ton. So that's why it's being introduced more. It has a larger capability of having or producing a bigger range of addresses, unlike IPv4. There's definitely a finite amount for the number of devices that are out in the world right now for IPv4. So you have to, that's where, if you know anything about networking or IP addresses, you understand why, you know, your private address has to get changed to a public IP address so it can be sent over the net. There's a reason for all that, because there's only a finite number of IPv4 addresses around. So I didn't really understand that either, but it makes sense. Anyways, so IPv6 enabled routers will also send out RA messages in response to an RS message. PC1 sends a RS, which is router solicitation advertisement. PC1 will send RS message to determine how to receive its IPv6 address information dynamically. Alright. And then number 2. Replies to the RS with an RA. Hi, I just booted up. Is there an IPv6 router on the network? I need to know how to get my IPv6 address information dynamically. R1 replies with RA messages. Hi, all IPv6 enabled devices. I'm R1, and you can use Slack to create an IPv6 global unicast address. The prefix is blah. By the way, use my local address of FE801 as your default gateway. The device is assigned a local unicast or local link unicast address and may perform duplicate address detection, okay, to ensure that the address is unique. To the uniqueness of the address, the device will send an NS message. So that is, what does the N stand for? Neighbor solicitation, when its own IPv6 address as a targeted IPv6 address as shown in the figure. Okay. Makes sense. Alright. If another device on the network has this address, it will respond with an NA, an advertisement, a neighbor advertisement. This neighbor advertisement message will notify the sending device that the address is in use. The corresponding neighbor advertisement message is not returned within a certain amount of time. The unicast address is unique and accepted for use. Okay. Alright. Address resolution is used when a device on the LAN knows that IPv6 address, unicast address, the device does not know its Ethernet MAC address. To determine the MAC address of the destination, the device will send a neighbor solicitation message to a solicited node address. The message will include the known targeted address. The device that has the targeted address will respond with a neighbor advertisement message containing its MAC address. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Check your knowledge. Which two types of ICMP messages are common in both ICMP v4 and Internet Control Message Protocol v6? Choose two. This one and this one. Should it be services? I don't think it's services. Let's see. Destination, address. Source unreachable. Source unreachable. I know there's destination unreachable. Whatever, we'll see. Which type of Which type of ICMP v6 message would a host send to acquire an IPv6 configuration when booting up? Ah, shit. Which type of message would a host send, not receive? I would say a neighbor solicitation. Let's see. Let's see. Oh shit. I see. Ah! Ah, fuck. Okay, maybe not. Okay, let's see. But does not know it's. Wait. Okay. Okay, let's see. Maybe it's not. They're sent by routers. Yeah. These are routers, so it has to be. Oh, okay, it is. Alright, I thought this was. Okay, whatever. So, here we go. It sends out an RA message in response to an RS message. So, solicitation device. Solicitation from the router. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, let's write that down. Wait. I need more clarification. Wants to know any router. Okay. There we go. It's this one. Yay. Okay, what is the other homework? Alright, so when done, screenshot. Alright, screenshots. So many screenshots. I think it's this one. Fuck. take this one. Upload file. Submit. Okay, and then let's do imported assignment, use ping and trace route to test connectivity. So 27. Damn it, so many of them. Okay. I've already been doing some of this. Okay, except for trace route. This is one I haven't done yet, really, too much. Okay. Let's see. So I don't fucking confuse these two. Is it this one? Let's double check. This is one I think I want to do on Sunday, but I need to isolate it, so I don't. Yeah, I think this is the one. Let's double check. I think this is one I did. Yeah. So let me see if this changes. It's supposed to like change with each. If you close it out and don't actually do it, it's supposed to change. So let me double check and make sure that's the one. Nope. Let's just close them all out. No. All right, let's see. Is it this one? Nope, it's not this one. I don't think it is this one. Let me see. Let's do it again. It's not this one. Okay. Maybe it's this one. It's either that one or build a switch. No, it's not this one. No. It's, I think it might be this one. No, it's not this one. No. Or, let's see, maybe it's this one. It's not this one either. No, I think it. Okay, hold on, let me see. Seven, 5. Okay, it's one I did at work. Let's go back. So, subnet, let's look at number 5. Let's look at it. I think it might be, I know it's in the 11s. 'Cause I actually found this, I found number 11 to be probably, I should say chapter 11 to be probably one of the most satisfying moments in this networking class, and it all boils down to like subnetting. I understand why a lot of people now don't like it. Mainly because it has to do with math. Like, let's see. No, this was fun. I can show you how I did this. I got 10 out of 10 on that one. I think it might be 7.5. You are given a network address. Let's see. I think it is this one. Let's see. Finish 7.6. Did I download that? Let's see. And then 7.6. That one's just calculate. No, it's not that one. Seven, six. So 7. Okay, I didn't do 9. Okay. I think this might be it. Let's download that one. Alright, so I feel like, and then if you buy the packet tracer, no, I don't think you have to buy it. I think it's free. Okay, yeah, this is the one. So I think the packet tracer is free, if I'm not mistaken. Gotta double check that. But you can like design all of this yourself, which is actually pretty cool. And then you can look at the physical. The physical one I think is actually interesting. There was you can see how things are mapped out like by their physical location. And there's one packet tracer assignment where it was like in California, like Lower California, I think like San Diego, another one in like San Jose area, and then it went out towards Pacific and Hawaii. I'll download that packet tracer too, so you guys can see how that one looked. I actually thought that was really interesting, but this is the one that I found a lot of excitement out of. And that's why I was like really confused yesterday when I was doing one of the packet tracers. Like there was just like how can I ping 2 routers based off of the information that they gave me? The subnet mask is completely right. I used the first address, but yet it was the wrong IP address. And yet I'm still able to ping, but apparently after reading further into the instructions, they told me don't follow the instructions because something might have been wrong with that packet tracer. I don't freaking know. But I used the same logic that I did for this assignment, but it changes. Like for here, you're given like 25 hosts. For this particular switch, this particular switch, you only have to host 8. And here 14, and this one 27. And some of these are already locks. So this one isn't locked. This one isn't locked. I think it might be a router, and this router isn't locked, right? But all the other ones, they're all locked. You can't look at them. So let's say you're in a hurry and you don't want to sit down and break down all this stuff, okay? There's just based off the information that you're given here, and a subnet mask, this is it, with the prefix, an IP address and its prefix, and they want you to break them down to even more little network addresses with that has a maximum of the number of minimum hosts that you need in order to host, that particular number of hosts. This assignment was wonderful. I loved it. But I think this one changes. The topography changes with each one. So if I were to close it, no. And open it again, you should get a different one. Yeah, so like I reopened it and I got a different topography with a different number of how many minimum hosts I need, and it's a good this particular exercise. I think I have 4 different ones, and you can practice doing all 4, which I want to do on Sunday because I need to get faster at being able to troubleshoot networks when they're down and trying to find how to subnet them faster. So I'm definitely going to write shortcuts for the exam because I ain't got time to be sitting there doing all that math. And having these prefixes, knowing what these prefixes mean, will help you. It will most definitely help you take off the time. And then if, depending on, if you know how many subnet masks there is, you just times number of hosts. Like, let's say you need 58 hosts, and there's, a subnet mask. Oh, that's probably a little bit too. Oh shit. Let's say you have 58 hosts. You need a minimum of 64, because based off the binary, the bits, the number of bits and what they represent, you need a minimum of 64 hosts in order to have 58 hosts on a certain network. So if you know that you're going to stop at 64, then let's say you have that will leave you with 2 minimum 64. That's going to leave you with a minimum of 4 subnets. So if you know there's going to be 4 subnets, then 64 plus 64 plus 64 plus 64. You can try. You should be able to know which network address you should start at in order to, I guess, have your number, or I guess start your networking scheme. So let's say on the if you know you have 4 subnet masks or 64 for this particular here, you can use the second subnet mask, which will start at 64, and use that to calculate the network address and the subnet mask for this, since that's the next biggest. You need a minimum of 32, so starting from the .64 .64 net address, what's going to be your broadcasting address based off of 29 hosts, or I should say 32 hosts in this instance. It's really hard to do this talking, but if I show you guys, it's a lot easier. I already have it in my mind how to do all of this stuff. It's just really hard unless someone shows you how to break it down. But once I break it down, it does get hectic the more subnet masks that you have. So if you have 128 subnet masks, right? Are you seriously going to, if you have 128 different subnet masks, are you seriously going to sit down and write every single network address for 128 different subnet masks in order to find the network address that you need to start at? That would take you forever, okay? Not to mention, you can have up to 256 different subnet masks, like 256 different network addresses. Do you really want to sit down and write out 256 network addresses in order to find which one that you need to start at? No, that's just not smart, okay? So there's mathematical ways of finding what exact network address you need to start out. So maybe out of the 128, different subnet masks that are there, maybe your particular requirements with the network address starts at the 68 subnet mask out of the 128. There's a way you can figure that out a lot quicker than sitting down and literally writing out 128 different subnet masks and their range, their IP range. That would fucking take forever. And as much as I love to do math like that, you can't do that when you're sitting down for an exam. That would take, like, by the time you need to submit your assignment, to submit your exam, and you have like 90 questions, or I should say maybe 70 questions. How many? Let's look at that. I didn't even double check that. So your CCNA. Okay, so I forgot. How many questions? So exact number, but expect around 100 questions during 120-minute exam. This is not published information, but the general tends to be around 8% correct answers to pass the exam. So, like, seriously, if you're gonna, but if you were to map out every single, one of those 128 subnets just to find the range of IPs in which you need in order to satisfy the requirement of having 32 hosts, so you can have 29 hosts, like that just, it's not a good use of your time. So there's easier ways to figure this out, but you have to know what every single one of these prefixes mean ahead of time. So I definitely would behoove people to, like, starting from, and there's tons of notes. So starting from, there's 256 bits, so 8, from prefix /8 up to prefix you have 8, 16, 32, 20, 128. You should be able to write these down on a piece of paper, so you already know how it looks in its binary form and what it looks like in its decimal, dot notation form. It will just save you the headache. But you only will know that by actually doing these exercises more frequently before you get to the exam the exam day. But I can't wait until Sunday, because I'll probably do a few of these, and then I gotta get to some programming stuff for a website. You guys, HTML hurts my eyes. It makes me throw up a lot. It does. But it's gotta be done. It's gotta be done. So now back to the pinging, the ICMP. No. I'm doing today 13 to 7. And then 13-1-1. Okay. Okay, 13-1-1. 13-3-1. Oh, so that's later. All right, so let's. Okay, our pinging exercise. All right, so, fucking IPv6s. So we have router 1, gigaface, interface gigabyte 00 or giga ethernet 00 has an IPv6 address. Interface giga ethernet 01 has an IPv4 address. So serial, this is interesting. So it has both an IPv6 and an IPv4 assigned to it. So does router 2, and it also has a local link address, which I still have no idea what the fuck that means. I should have probably did 12 first, but whatever. I should have did chapter 12, but chapter 12 is so intense. There's like so many there. Okay, router 3. This is going to be interesting. Test and restore IPv4 connectivity. Test and restore IPv6 connectivity. IPv4 connectivity should be easy. There are connectivity issues in this activity. In addition to gathering and documenting information about the network, you will locate the problem and implement acceptable solutions to restore connectivity. The user exec password is Cisco. The privilege exec password is class. Test and restore IPv4 connectivity. Use ipconfig and ping to verify connectivity. Click PC1. So PC1 is IPv4 client. Okay, let's go to our command prompt. Alrighty. Now, click PC1 and open it. Connect to ipconfig all. Oh crap, it's one word, Leah. Alright. Complete the addressing table with the IPv4 address, subnet mask, and default gateway. So let's look here. Okay. Copy. I need to download. Word. Copy. Let's see. Fuck. I need to install Word. Let's do it through Block. Let's go on my college campus and download Word. Let's download Microsoft products because I can no longer use this Word crap. DePaul. Hold on 1 second. Oh, Chicago. Oh shit. Oops. Oh, I spoke too soon. Oh no. Dude, that sucks. What happened? Dude, I spoke too soon. Okay. Oh yeah, it spoke too soon. I was trying to download Microsoft and from my school portal. Ah! And I spoke too soon. Um, I've been working off my phone's data because because um okay, so I actually have to log in. Oh shit. Damn. Okay, so damn, am I speaking into the microphone? I can't hear myself. Ooh. Oh wait. I don't know. I can't hear myself. So I might have to come back, you guys, because I'm using. What the fuck? I can't hear myself. Yep. I'm trying to download Word, install Office onto my computer, and I'm using my data for my phone. And it's causing connectivity issues on Twitch. So, and I can't use this anymore. Don't save. I can't use that because I can't copy and paste the format. Okay, which apps I want to install? So I'll be back once that installs and continue my packet tracer.